awaiting the test against Melbourne. So they're well set. The Blues, less so. They're 4-7. And they couldn't get it done yesterday at the SCG. There have been familiar moments in this season of frustration so far. The coaches are with us tonight. Chris Fagen, beautifully set up with the fire in the background. Fags, welcome back.
Thanks, Jared. Robbo.
And David Teauge from the Blues based in Sydney. Welcome, David.
Evening, Jared. Robbo.
Let's start with what we know and what we don't. Fags, do you know where Friday night's game is going to be?
No, I don't at this stage. I just know it's going to be Friday night, and I don't think it'll be here in Brisbane, so we expect to travel and play on Friday night.
If it's in Sydney, so SCG Giants Stadium, does it make any difference to you in your planning?
No, not really. I mean, you're just playing for the team that you play against. You know, the SCG is a little bit different to Giants Stadium, so we'd probably have to give that a little bit of thought, but by and large, it won't make too much difference to us.
And David, are you locked for the SCG against West Coast?
As far as where we'll play them Sunday as pictured, and that'll be up here at the SCG.
And have you been given a guarantee that you'll be able to come home after that game?
Yeah, all indications at the moment is we'll fly out either Sunday evening or Monday morning back to Melbourne. So, yeah, no, they're pretty confident that they'll stay in place.
Is that the source of some comfort, some relief that everybody knows that this is a finite road trip?
Oh, I think so. The biggest issue often is the uncertainty. And when it started, it was 5 days. And after last year, I mentioned this after the game, I think most people packed for a lot longer than 5 days. I was a bit naive. I trusted them and only packed for 5 days, but the rest of the boys got a fair bit more gear. So to know that we're going home, what the future holds after that, we're not sure. Right now, obviously, we're concerned about all the people back in Victoria and particularly the welfare of our coaches and our players and staff and their families. We really appreciate what a lot of our partners and families are doing back.
Onto the field, Dave. I think 2 weeks ago or a week and a half ago, you spoke about giving your team maybe your biggest blast in your career at half-time about their lack of defence. I'd really like to know how you approach the players immediately in the post-game after the loss to the Swans.
Oh, yeah, we identified some areas. There's some key numbers that stood out in the game, particularly from a pressure and tackling point of view. And a lot of that is, it's not so much intent in the moment. It's probably more getting in a position to be able to number off and put ourselves in a position to tackle. Our efficiency is not high enough as well, but it's more about getting a number of attempts and getting at them.
You're probably going to think this is a stupid question, and I don't want to insult you, but I'm going to have to ask you, David, so please try and understand where it's coming from. The expectations on Carlton were a lot higher than where they are now, 4-7 at the halfway mark. Do you sense a bit of urgency around your position, urgency around where the team sits at this stage? I know it's an early career, but when the expectation is so high and they haven't been met, do you feel an urgency creeping into your coaching and your performance?
Oh, no, probably not so much an urgency, more so there's a level of frustration from, particularly from the playing group, that we're probably showing for periods of games that we can be competitive, but we're not doing it for 4 quarters. We're not doing it for 120 minutes. And when we don't, we're getting hurt on the scoreboard. And it's the how that's probably the bit we've got to get onto it. It's particularly from an offensive point of view, we're scoring more than average, but defensively we're allowing too many scores, and yeah, some of those scores are just too easy, and some efforts that we addressed over the last few weeks just haven't been good enough, particularly when you're wearing the navy blue jumper.
I don't expect any coach to ever be critical of their playing group publicly, but there's no doubt that frustration must be growing in with you, David, because you're not telling your players not to play for 3 quarters of 4 quarters every week. So how's the frustration levels with you? Is it your fault they're not doing it? Is it the playing group who are not good enough, or they're not listening, or they're not disciplined, or they're not committed enough? Where are you putting the blame at the moment?
Yeah, in terms of that frustration, the first part of your question, that's all of us. That's the playing group, that's the coaching group, that's our fans. our fans have been really loyal and stuck by us, but they're getting quite frustrated at the moment, and they see that we're in games and we're not getting it done. In terms of where the blame goes, we're in this together, and we'll keep working hard. We're not going to sulk. We're not going to sit here and moan about it. We're going to educate each other. We're going to review it. We're going to have some strong conversations, and we need to go out there and get the job done.
Fags, you've got a 7-0 run going now, which in a season like this is pretty phenomenal. Melbourne got to 9, you're at 7. And it was ruthless, the start against the Giants. It was quite confronting. It was so good. Have you got the team humming?
Oh, we seem to be in a good patch at the moment. You know, playing, it's been a very even team effort for a number of weeks now. You know, when you look at try to work out who our best players are, who our goal kickers are, it's just such an even spread. So as a coach, you really aim to try and get that as much as you can. And right now we're in that window. It's going to get a stern test on Friday night against Melbourne, who are the benchmark team of the competition at the moment. But I guess we couldn't be in better shape to front up to that game.
Is there an edge to this team, Fags? It was something that was spoken about in the lead up to the season. Robbo wrote about it. I think we've watched and seen maybe, I don't know whether there's an extra bit of steel. What's your perception? Is it a bit edgier?
Oh, look, I think it's... I mean, it comes with experience. You know, we've had 2 final series now, and you know, last year we were disappointed with how the finals finished up, and I think those experiences harden you a little bit, and they make your players understand that the game is not just a game of tactics. It's a mental game as well, and you've got to engage in that side of it and the physical side as well. So I think that's just a natural organic growth that's come with our young group.
Hey, Fags, when you have a run like you're having at the moment, 7 in a row, and you talk about you're not relying on everyone, you don't know who your best players are. You've experienced that at Hawthorn before. Who drove that standards at Hawthorn? Was it the players? And if so, are the players driving that standard now at the Lions?
Yeah, look, I believe so, and that's what we've worked hard towards over the last 4 years. You know, the players have got to own it in a sense, and you know, Dane Zorko has been a fantastic leader in that regard. And if you had a chance to watch our game on the weekend, he was the guy leading the charge in the first quarter. You know, he sensed that Giants were a little bit vulnerable. They'd had a pretty disrupted 24 hours trying to get up here to play, and I think he had a 13 possession first quarter and was in everything. So. You know, he and the other leaders are doing a brilliant job. You know, we have regular conversations, but my job at our club is a lot easier now than it was, you know, 3 or 4 years ago when we first started, because those guys have really started to take ownership over things.
When you hear that, David, talking about, you know, the players driving the standards on the field, is it fair to say your playing group, your leaders, they aren't at that level just yet?
Oh, it's definitely a work in progress, and like Chris said, it builds over time, and I'm seeing some growth, and particularly our standards off the field, the way we train, have definitely improved, and right now the one we're looking for is continue to grow and learn and educate and help each other, particularly game day in those tight contests and those tight moments, and really stepping up when it really matters.
From this point in the season, so at 4 and 7, David, how do you prioritise and balance youth versus experience? So Levi Casbolt came into the team on the weekend. Mark Murphy was the medical sub. You've got younger players who had a little taste or waiting for it. What is your balance right now?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. We'll always go for the younger player if they're on par, if they're similar, but we also want to bring players in that are performing well and add to the team and understand and can execute their role, and that's really important for us right now. We need more players that can go out there and get their job done and play their role for the team to allow everyone to work together.
Fags, we don't do this often. We've got 2 subjects, so you can pick one, the one that you want to talk about. Do you want to talk Melbourne on Friday night, or we want to talk about Mitch Robinson?
Oh, Mitch Robinson.
How magnificent was he? You know, he's so close I think when the Indigenous round comes around, Mitch Robinson is so close to the Indigenous boys in this competition that he looked an inspired figure on the weekend. Did you note that? What did you think of his game?
Yeah, I did. I mean, his wife Emma is Indigenous as well, so this round is pretty close to his heart, and I know he would have been thrilled to play so well. And he's been in really good form particularly the last 2 or 3 weeks. You know, he's running up and down from one end of the ground to the other, doing all his usual acts of bravery, and he added a little bit of class on the weekend with, you know, the 4 goals that he kicked. They came from nowhere. He hadn't kicked a goal at all this season, and he managed 4 on the weekend. But look, he works hard in his game. The crowd up here love him, his teammates love him, and he inspired us on the weekend.
Next, we'll ask Chris Fagen about Melbourne, and David Teauge with us as well. This is coaches. You have been known to save your best for this round.
Nah, no pressure.
1, 2, 3, let's go! To the pocket, Eddie Betts dangerous. Eddie Betts from the pocket! Oh, Eddie Betts! That's your top draw! Here's Betts in the pocket, holds it one-handed, fended through for a goal!
Yes! Betts, though, snaps from the pocket, brings it back beautifully, Eddie Betts!
Here's Eddie Betts with a quick snap to a miracle goal! Yes. Oh, he's done it! It's a Doug Nicholls round, and then he goes, that is what I can do!
One hand, his son would have loved it. That much I'm sure of. What did his coach think? David Teauge, what did you think about that?
It's stock standard for Eddie, isn't it? There was nothing special. He does that, I think, every Sir Doug Nicholls round. So, no, it was pretty special. I enjoyed watching his little mate play for Brisbane the day before, but he kept passing him off. I thought he was about to kick a spectacular goal in Charlie Cameron, but he kept handballing him off.
Funny world, David, because the world, it's pretty fickle, the footy world. 4 weeks ago, it was, why are you playing Eddie Betts? 4 weeks later, all Eddie Betts is doing is kicking goals and giving Carlton a pretty good shot at winning a game of football. Do you feel vindicated?
I wouldn't say vindicated is a word. Well, we believed in him, and while he was getting those shots, we know that Eddie's going to kick more than he misses. So it was just about keeping his work rate up, playing his role. His defensive transition and getting up the ground has really improved as well. And I've never seen him do that as well as he has in his whole career. So he's continuing to learn and grow and help the side.
Fags, what might we see Lachie Neale return?
Well, Lockie's trained fully last week, and you know, he's going to do his level best tomorrow, I think, to convince us that we should consider him for selection on Friday night. So we will consider him. We'll see how he goes tomorrow and make a decision later in the week.
Have you got room for him? That midfield's going all right, Fags.
You've always got room for a Brownlow medalist, Robbo, but you are right. You know, guys like Reece Matheson and Dev Robertson, who have come into the team and playing inside mid, have done a terrific job for us over the last 4 or 5 weeks. So, you know, if Lachie is fit to play, there's some pretty hard decisions to be made.
David, same question about Charlie. I haven't had an update. I'm sorry if you've been asked this question a lot recently. I don't want you to do a Luke Beveridge on me, but can you give us an update on Charlie Curnow?
Yeah, he's progressing really well. He's started to join in some of our skill drills. Still controlled in terms of the contact and what drills he can and can't do, but so far he's hitting all his markers and he's progressing really well. So he's ready to explode. He can't wait to get out there, and we're still having to hold him back even just in training to make sure he stays in the right drills.
All right, give us a time frame, can you?
It'll be later this season. I don't think they've come up with an exact round or a date yet. He's got to keep just progressing. But I think early in the year they flagged sort of round 16, 17, and I think he's on track. But they haven't set a date as yet.
How much of a complicating factor will it be, David, if the VFL is in pause for, it's going to be 2 weeks, I'm sure, this weekend, and maybe a little bit longer? Does that make things a bit difficult?
It will be challenging. We're probably lucky. We got a game against Sydney on the weekend. We had a couple of Essendon boys join as well. So if we stay up here, hopefully we'll be able to get a game into our guys with other teams that are in Sydney. But going forward, if there's no football in Victoria, then that definitely will be a challenge. But hopefully we'll be able to get 12-a-sides or 15-a-side games going that we did last year, at least give them some form of conditioning and match play.
And while Fags, there's no limits in Brisbane as the Eastern Seaboard comp is not happening, is that makes it difficult for you?
Well, actually, our guys are playing up here, Jared. So teams like Southport and Aspley and ourselves and the Suns are able to play this weekend. So the VFL will continue as normal up here. Yeah.
Well, that's good. Hey, bit of family news?
Yeah, you become a grandfather for the second time, Fags.
For the second time, Robbo, yes. My daughter Ellen and her partner Chris, they had a little boy last week, George. He's got the biggest head of hair. He's got more hair than I have, I can tell you. And they're both fit and healthy, so a shout out to them. I wish I could be down there to be with them, but that's not possible, and it's probably not going to be possible for a while. So my wife Ursula's down there, so I'm batching at the moment. And fortunately enough, Hodgie bought some light and easy around the other night, so I've got about a dozen of those to eat over the next couple of weeks.
Now, one last quick question. Do you feel old when you get another grandchild, or are you already old?
I'm already old, Robbo, but I work with a magnificent group of young blokes and they make me feel young every day, so I'm good with where I'm at.
Perfect.
Good on you.
Great to have you both with us. Thanks and good luck over the next little bit.
Jeez, thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you, guys.
See you guys.
David Teauge and Chris